You're listening to Two Mics and a Guest, a podcast of people's stories and the career pathway that led them to where they are. And now your hosts, Michael Holliday and Mike Young. Welcome, everybody, to Two Mics and a Guest. This is our episode 5. I am Michael Holliday, joined with
Mike Young. Good to be here.
We have someone who's very close to both of us. I've known this man for quite a while now, and I think you do as well, Mike.
Known him a good while. Jason Kennedy is an investigator with the Coffee County with the District Attorney Office, correct?
That's right.
Criminal investigator. But we've known each other for a while outside of professional areas, and so it's been good to...
Yep. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Yep. So are we a native of this area? Can we generally kind of start out, where are we from?
I was raised in Manchester for the most part.
Okay.
We moved to Manchester when I was 7th or 8th grade. Mm-hmm. Before that, I lived in Franklin County.
Okay.
Went to Holland High School till about 7th or 8th and moved to Manchester.
Fairly small high school, right?
Yeah, I think the population of 400 maybe. I think.
Oh, really?
Their graduating classes.
For all of the grades?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Huntland's graduating classes were like 40 maybe.
Yeah. So small town USA, small town high school. Is law enforcement like an interest of yours since the very beginning, like since youth? I mean, when did you kind of see this path for yourself?
My father was a paramedic plus a veteran Navy. All my uncles were veterans. I had one uncle that was a detective for Cook County Sheriff's Office in Chicago. So I knew public service was something that I wanted to do, and I sort of just fell into law enforcement.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cook County, not small town.
Yeah, Cook County is the county that encompasses Chicago. So
right.
It's a big area. That's where I was born at.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And then how'd they move down here? Just
my grandparents moved to Franklin County. That's where my grandfather was. Well, he was actually from Princeton, Alabama.
Yeah.
He moved down here, had a farm, and my parents followed.
Right.
Nice.
So high school, when like you had that part of your family and stuff, when you started entertaining the idea of maybe this is some kind of a career kind of thing, when you start thinking about that?
I guess in high school, there was an SRO, Dale Goodwin, at Coffee County High School. He started there, I guess maybe my junior year, and I talked to him about it, and he would, give me ideas and tell me how it was, and so that's how I knew. I think this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Again, there's always
a theme
someone.
in every episode we've done. Everybody we've talked to, there's been an adult somewhere that had that kind of impact on them. Either they could talk to them about it, or it was a teacher or somebody that had that kind of influence on them. So that's cool.
That kind of lit a spark that, like, oh, maybe this is something that I really am passionate about, and that we've seen that. Well,
don't you think? I mean, it was one thing to have all that in the family, but being able to talk to somebody outside the family probably added to that.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, the school resource officer, he would come in, talk to classes, tell them about what it's like being in law enforcement. Plus, I like the cop TV shows.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Cops was back on then.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to do something, but it just ended up being law enforcement. I thought about it, maybe the fire side of it, fireman, but law enforcement.
Yeah, cool. Now, where'd you go? Did you go to college?
Yes, later on in my career. High school, I was just your average kid. If I went to college right out of high school, I probably wouldn't have been that great. But down the road, I saw where I needed to go back to school and further my education, and I did.
Well, tell me, let's back up then. I jumped the gun a little bit. When you got out of high school, because and frankly, that's the story for a lot of students that I don't know if I want to do this college thing. Don't know really where they want to go with that. So what was your next step? How did you know? The thing about high school is its structure. Like for a lot of folks, it's there in front of them. You got to go to 10th grade, go to 11th grade, and you graduate.
Yep. A lot of people telling you what you're doing.
Right.
Exactly. So when you came to the end of that, what did you do next? How'd you?
My parents were supportive. They whatever you want to do, and I actually started in law enforcement when I was 18. I actually got a job at the Coffee County Sheriff's Office as a correctional officer.
Yep.
Sheriff Graves hired me. I worked there for probably about 2 years, and then I guess you would call it a promotion. I got put out on the road as a road deputy at 20, and I attended the police academy in Nashville at 20 years old.
Wow.
I think I was the youngest in my class.
Really? Wow.
So
How was that?
It was fine.
How long is that roughly?
When I went, I think it was 8 weeks.
Okay.
Now I think it's
changed
to 12 or 14.
Sure.
So it was 8 weeks away from home.
You're living there. You're
Monday through Friday. They call it paramilitary style.
Right.
okay.
You have to live there. They do PT. They play psychological games with your mind.
It's boot camp-esque, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a little less than boot camp,
Sure.
but it's still.
The structure is similar, though.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting. I read it was a book by an author that wanted to find out about it and went through the pre-stages for police academy. This is back in L.A., and she recognized quick that, and she was actually pretty athletic, was able to do a lot of this stuff, but she also realized, I'm taking a spot from somebody that actually wants to do this, and she kind of got off of her writing project. But it was an interesting hearing her go through that process. Obviously, you're trying to train. Well, you could talk about what the purpose of the academy and what it's set up for. We have in our mind, us lay people sitting outside, have in our mind what boot camp might be like or what the academy might be like. But there's some goals, there's some reasons why it's structured the way it is, right? I mean,
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit. Because this is not just any job, right? We're preparing folks to be in stressful situations
serious,
and be able to make good decisions in those situations.
I guess the main three components of the police academy, and they have driving. The driving course is very intimidating. When you go out there, you just see hundreds and hundreds of cones. And if you knock down 3, you fail. And you practice all week, and you also have to do it at a certain amount of time. So the driving gets a lot of people, just psychologically. That's probably one that fails a lot of people out of the academy.
It's just visually intimidating.
Yeah. Then of course they have firearms. That can be stressful. They have a stress course at the end that you have to run, where you have to shoot, qualify, and score, and the instructors are yelling at you and different things.
To get that elevated heart rate, to get that,
Oh yeah,
everything kind of intensifies.
Yes, it's not like you're sitting on a Sunday afternoon at the range.
Yeah.
Right.
Stress. Then
Makes sense.
defensive tactics, learning how to handle yourself, especially working for a rural sheriff's office.
Right.
You may be by yourself
Yeah.
on a call, and back up from Hillsboro to Beech Grove can be 20, 25 minutes.
Right.
Wow.
And then also academics, learning how more about the United States Constitution and rights afforded to people here.
Your 10 codes.
No, 10 codes
No?
are different depending on what county you're
Okay.
in.
Oh, that's true.
But laws,
Right.
they really stress laws and what you can be held civil liability. If you don't do your job correctly, it can hurt yourself, your family, lose everything you have. So they really stress that stuff.
I think it's interesting. I wanted you to speak to it a little bit. I mean, you said it was intimidating, the cones and all this. I think a lot of folks think, well, I can drive, I can shoot. What's the difference in what we're talking about here, though? Because it's not just, this is a different thing that we're talking about. You know what I mean by my question?
Yeah. Yes, it's people who say I can drive good. If I went back to the academy right now and tried to pass that course, I don't know if I could. Now, if I practice that whole week like they do at the cadets, yes. But I guess the biggest thing is if you don't pass, this is your job.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going home. You cannot be a police officer. But I mean,
But they're teaching you skills.
Yes.
I mean, that you're
Yeah.
using in real life. I mean,
Yes.
it's the
and everything they get you to do is sort of made like what you encounter in your job.
Yeah.
So
you do a dangerous job and you want to do it as safely as possible.
That's
I mean,
correct.
that's kind of the thing
Yep.
that they're looking at. So
And you spend a majority of your time as a patrol officer in your car. So that's the area you probably need to make sure that you're not crashing into things and dinging things up. And makes sense.
That's your office. And I mean, if you go to the law enforcement memorial page, I mean, there are officers that die of shootings, stabbings, but a lot of them die in vehicle crashes.
Yeah. Right. You guys hit some high speeds and are put in some tough predicaments at times. So
well, again, we're lay people, don't know exactly what it's like, but a lot of times you may know what you're doing, but you're dealing with unpredictable people on the other side of things too.
Yeah,
right?
Correct.
And so that's the thing that's difficult.
No day is just like the other, is it?
So, Police Academy, you graduated obviously from there. Went back to the sheriff's office at that point.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your track from there?
Was a deputy for a while. There for a little bit. I worked out on the interstate doing drug interdiction.
Mm-hmm.
I did that probably I left in 2005, the sheriff's office, and I started working here at Tullahoma at the police department as a patrolman. I was a regular patrolman for 2 years, then I got promoted to a detective in 2007, and then worked a lot of serious crimes here in Tullahoma as a detective.
Now, for distinguish that a little bit, it is a promotion, and what's a day in the life like of you got a beat you're doing, then you move to detective. What's a day in the life of a detective look like?
So you get assigned cases and you're following up with victims of crimes. You make a lot of phone calls. You also are on calls at nighttime.
Right.
Sometimes you have to get called out. Also, there's some downtime. You have to learn how to manage your time a little bit. But yeah, I like detective work better than patrol. But you got to start somewhere.
No, that's right. That's right. And move up through it.
What's the promotion process like? Do you have to apply, or does your commanding officer approach you? Like, what's that like?
Some agencies are different, but for the most part, HR will put an announcement out. There's an opening in this division. You apply for it. Sometimes you have to take a test. Sometimes it's just an interview. Sometimes it could be 2 different interviews with detectives, and then the second interview with the chief or something like that.
Right.
And I'm sure you have to be within good standing, obviously,
yes,
and have a good track record and everything. So that's important.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you get promoted, say from patrol to detective, they look like at what you did as a patrolman. Did you follow through with other cases? Do you have that drive? Because you do have a boss or a supervisor, but you're kind of your own boss. You have to be driven to do it.
And I'm sure you still have to use these detective-like skills even in patrol. Like, you have to try to understand, what party is maybe telling me the truth, which part's, stretching it. And you just kind of have to look at each case almost like a detective also, right?
Yes.
That's important.
Now, at what point, now, I know there's a couple of things interesting turns that you did. I know you did the FBI Academy, which is another level, right, that we're talking about. And you also taught at the high school some. And I'm curious about both of those because that's very interesting to me. So I don't know which came first. I think FBI came first. Is that correct? Or
yes. So another cool thing I got to do when I was at Tullahoma, I got to attend the National Forensic Academy at UT Knoxville.
Oh, cool.
The Bone Farm?
Yes.
Wow, yeah.
But you were not at the they call it the Body Farm.
Body Farm, that's right. Sorry.
It's under the stadium, right? It's under Neyland.
Well, the laboratory is, right?
The anthropology department used to be underneath the stadium, but now they have a separate building. They named it after Dr. Bill Bass.
We got to hear him a few years back, right?
Yes, he's the one that came to the high school.
That's right. We're jumping the gun a little bit, but yeah, he's a fantastic speaker.
Yeah. So I got to do that, and we were at the Body Farm for a week, and they show you how to excavate human remains. But a lot of it was photography, fingerprinting, just 10 weeks of
forensics
stuff.
And, I'm sitting there joking about, the scene in The Blind Side of the movie when she trying to get him not to go to Ole Miss. I mean, not go to Tennessee, got to go to Ole Miss, trying to scare him with the body.
Oh, that's right.
That's what I was thinking about with that. But it is world-renowned.
Definitely.
The program there at Tennessee. So they're teaching, again, we don't think about as lay people, there's a procedure to do this, and it's the right way to do it because we are collecting evidence and we're trying to figure out what happened, right?
Right. So yeah, the Body Farm is actually right next to UT Medical. It's I think it's like a 2.5 acre little plot is where they do all the different testings and experiments for different agencies. The FBI, they have them do a lot of testing for them. just different things like that.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too deep into this, but you can volunteer your body after death, right? To
Yes,
for experimentation. Is that true?
Yes, that's my understanding. But I think there's actually a waiting list to do it. So it's like I said, that was 2011.
It's like an advanced organ donor. You're just kind of donating your entire body.
Yeah.
Well, we don't think about those things. I've got a son-in-law that went through med school, and they work with actual bodies. You want them to learn how to do this, and it's interesting the respect that they have for that.
It's science.
Some of these med schools, even when they are finished, it's a ceremony. It's very it's a big deal because these. I didn't know how that worked. I hear body form. I'm like, where do you get a body? What's going on with that? So, anyway.
So I got that was a pretty neat thing I got to do while I was at Tullahoma, and then I decided I want to go further in my career. So that's when I decided to start back to college and did that. Then I went to Manchester Police Department for a couple years.
Now, what'd you major in college? Was it criminal justice?
Yes, criminal justice.
Where'd you go?
I did it through Bethel University, McKenzie, Tennessee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have
an online program.
Online, plus they have a satellite office in Nashville.
Oh, cool.
So that's how I finished my bachelor's degree.
So able to do it while you were working, and that's good.
And some of the schools that I went through in law enforcement actually gave me college credit. Like when I went to UT, I got college credit, and some of the other, like the police academy, they give you college credit.
That's great.
It helped with a lot of electives.
No, I think that's important to talk about too, because a lot of folks don't know how that works, and they have this image of getting your college degree is, I'm going to 4 or 5 years, I'm going there straight through, and being able to do it while you're working, and I would think the learning process while you're actually doing the work is got to be really helpful and enlightening too, right?
Definitely. I mean, if I went to Motlow to get a 2-year college degree in criminal justice right out of high school, I know I would have struggled.
Yeah.
But I had that life experience of working in the criminal justice field, so some of the classes I took at college, it was easy.
You knew how to answer a certain scenario, right?
But don't get me wrong, I learned a lot more, but some of the stuff is really easy. I mean, just because I already had that training and background in it.
Sometimes the difficulty in our courses, I think, is not being able to see that real life connection. Why do I got to learn this kind of thing? And so I think it's interesting that being able to work and do study what you're working in and what you want to do, making that connection probably helped it be easy too.
Definitely helps.
Right.
Have we gotten to the part in the timeline where we've going to the FBI Academy for training? Is that?
So I finished up my college degree when I was at Manchester. I was a patrol officer. I did a little stint in investigations there. And then I was offered a job in Bedford County as a lieutenant over investigations. So I took that position. While I was there, I applied for the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia, and got accepted.
Wow, that's big time.
I went there in 2017. That's a 10-week course. I guess, again, I'm living there for 10 weeks.
And that was longer than your initial police academy stint.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, there I took graduate courses. It's through the University of Virginia. But you're being taught by either retired FBI agents or adjunct people that come in and teach. And there is also a physical aspect of it. You have PT. One of the big things everybody wants to have is the yellow brick at the end, where you run a 6.2-mile obstacle course. Ooh. About half of it's obstacle. It's the Marine. You're on a Marine base, and it's the same one that the Marine Corps uses. So I got my yellow brick, so that was great. But the FBI Academy is more of a leadership type program, learning, how to be a good police officer, how to, learn about the community, different things like that. So it was really great.
Now, what qualifies for the yellow brick? What do you got to do?
You have to complete the course.
And is it an actual yellow brick that you are given, or what is this?
So throughout the course, they paint some of the rocks yellow. They have the theme of the Wizard of Oz up there.
Yeah.
Wow. That's funny.
Every week we'd have a challenge week where they pretty much smoke you that morning. I mean, I forgot some of the names, but they all pertain to the Wizard of Oz. But it was really neat.
I was just curious. I mean, I think that's interesting. But then that you talked about leadership and community policing. I'm guessing.
Community-oriented policing.
Talk about that a little bit. That's interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, especially this day and time. I mean, you see all the different things happening in the world. Just learning how to, bring the police in the community and bring the community to the police. So you see a lot more of that. Trying to gain trust.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Show police are humans too. We're not just robots.
Yep.
Right.
So that, here we see that a lot. I know the Tullahoma Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, Manchester. You see them out doing community events.
Right.
You see the officers walking in the schools, talking to kids. I know Willie Young here at Tullahoma High School does an excellent job.
I remember growing up, the DARE program was huge for getting exposure to what it was like and seeing an officer there in front of you. I remember I had Mike Mann in the DARE program when I was at St. Paul's Catholic school here in town. But he was fantastic about, humanizing this person in a uniform with a gun on and handcuffs. And you just, as a little kid, you're like, oh, that's intimidating looking. But he just brought that humanistic side to it that was really great for us as little kids.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not a TV show. I mean, this is real life where real people live and the whole thing. And I mean that in the good sense, not the dramatic sense. We live every day in our community, and we love our community. It's a good, safe community to be in, and we all working together with it. So I think that's an interesting concept that people don't get sometimes. How much is that an issue? People think police officer or think law enforcement, and usually we think about a police show. You even mentioned the cops show, right? I know that was more of a real life cops doing their thing. It's not a TV show. This is real life, real people, right?
Yeah, I mean, some TV shows are pretty accurate. I guess the one that I see the most is what we call the CSI effect.
Yep.
Right.
You cannot solve a homicide in 45 minutes plus commercials.
Well, we almost kind of see that a little bit in that first 48 show. I don't know how accurate that is, but you see some of these at the end of those episodes. They say this goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks after what you see when the camera shuts off.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, first 48 hours, that's definitely
it's crucial.
Crucial. I mean, to find out some things, but once the arrest's done, you arrest someone, you still have weeks and weeks of work left.
Talk about that a little bit as well. I mean, we know the things that make the TV show, but you've got to learn skills to be able to document these things so that we can make a case, right? So that we can see justice in this situation or whatever it might be. We want to find the truth in this situation, and we got to figure that out. How do you develop those? You've gone to these academies, you've done the school coursework, but now you're out in the field in Coffee County somewhere. You know what I'm saying? How do you learn to hone those skills? I guess by experience, right?
By doing it and by learning from other people. Of course, going to classes and just like when I teach school or classes, like I taught one at Tullahoma Police Department yesterday. I teach you a way. It's not the way.
Yep.
I may pick something up from you, Mike, that I like. And then I may pick up something from Holiday that I like, and then I put it with what works for me. And that, as long as you're doing right, you're good. So you just pick and choose what works for you,
and for a scenario and for a situation. Yeah.
And definitely having a good team to work with. The investigators in this county are second to none. I mean, they're really good.
That's comforting to know, right? As we all live here.
I was working with the sheriff's office back in September. We had a double homicide out in Hillsboro. And I mean, we all came up with good ideas. I'd say something like that. They'd be like, "No, let's do this." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds better." So it's definitely a team effort, and that's what makes it. But that's what's great about law enforcement. It doesn't matter what color patch you have on, or if you have a star or a shield. Right. You all work. Everybody works together, and we all have one goal, and that's to, get justice for the victim.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, FBI Academy, obviously you finished that, came back here. What did you do after that?
One more thing about that. One thing that was really great.
I didn't want to breeze over that, but I want you to.
No, I wanted to say, is the networking. You get to meet so many great officers from all over the country and even the world. We had somebody from every state: New York, Chicago, California, small agencies, big, and we had international students.
Oh, wow.
We had them from Qatar, Jordan, Japan, China.
Wow. All at this FBI Academy training.
And I can pretty much reach out to any of them if I ever needed anything. And it's definitely a big, huge networking.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
I'm really glad you brought that up too, because that's not a small thing.
Resources are
Well,
so
I
important.
Yeah.
I was texting my network just before we came in and started talking about this. I mean, and they're all over the country. And I think it's a skill that kids need to kind of recognize as they're moving forward. Frankly, you reached out to that SRO, or he reached out to you, but that was part of your network as well. That's your initial network that you're talking about, and helped you on this path, and it's only expanded, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every stop on your resume was a networking opportunity too.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess you're asking after FBI?
Yeah.
I worked at the sheriff's office from, I guess it was 2014 to 2017, and then I got a call from a friend of mine that worked with the Tullahoma school system, and said they were starting a criminal justice program at Tullahoma High School. Would I be interested? So I was like, yeah, I'll go check. Kids are younger then, and at that time I'd been in law enforcement for about 17 years. And I also thought it would be good if I could bring in my experience
Absolutely.
to the youth of this community. And like you said, it's not like you see on TV, bring it in.
Humanize it.
Yeah.
Bring it down to their level. Yep.
So I talked with Kathy Rose, who was the principal then, and Travis Moore was the CTE director. And went in and interviewed, and she offered me the job, and I told her I had to think about it just because, I'm
Big
giving
change.
up everything I've known. But talked to my wife and prayed about it, and I decided to take it.
Yeah.
It was a different step, and I'm glad I did.
Absolutely. And I was lucky enough to start a year after you started, I believe, at THS. And I got to see Jason's teaching firsthand many times and worked with you on projects. And I'll just go ahead and say it because you're probably not going to say it. Fantastic. Fantastic teacher. Really brought that program up to just the highest level. And you had so many kids get involved and really enjoy that program. So,
Well, I want
hats off to you, Jason.
I don't want to embarrass you with that, but it's true. And I had the opportunity to talk to some of the kids that you were able to work with, but seeing that interaction with the students was it's vital. I've worked with students my whole career in different levels, and some people connect and some people don't, quite frankly. And you did connect well.
Teenagers are tough.
Well, they're tough for some folks, but I don't think it's the issue of being able to connect. They see you're real and you're able to give them some real life experience. And so I saw that. I've even seen it here with some students that had you in courses. So I appreciate your service there in the high school because it did elevate that program. So and not to embarrass you here, but it's true. It did.
Well, thank you for the kind words. But I didn't make it. The kids did. I can only, teach them.
Sure.
I can lead them there, but they have to perform, and they did. I was really proud of them. They won a lot of competitions. Some of the kids, after they graduated, I know some of them are working at county jails and corrections. Some of them want to go into law enforcement. Some went in the military. There's one kid that I'm super proud of that just graduated boot camp in the Army.
Oh, wow.
He was a handful when I had him, but that kid turned around so much because of the wrestling program here. Al Morris was instrumental in helping him, and he loved my program. And now he's graduated basic training. He's doing well. I talked to him a few weeks ago.
Those are skills that are definitely going to carry on with him.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
But yeah, it was really great. I enjoyed teaching. I'm still involved. Today I've got to go up there and help them get ready for a competition next week. Going up there for an hour today. So I miss it some. I miss the kids, but I got a offered this position that I'm in now, and it was sort of a position that I've always wanted. So,
and we're coming back to Coffee County with this position, right? Because
the district attorney's office.
Yep. So we were at Bedford before we went into teaching, right?
Correct.
And then now we're back to Coffee, kind of
Yes.
the home base area.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. District attorney.
Now, you talked about it was a position you've always wanted. Talk about distinguish this position from what you were doing before a little bit.
So one of the guys that really helped me throughout my career was Billy Cook, and he was the investigator for the district attorney's office.
Networking thing again.
And he was getting ready to retire in about a year, and they hired someone, which I ended up luckily getting the position, and I got to work with him for a year. He just recently retired, and he sort of showed me everything he did, which he did a lot behind the scenes. But this position is more or less I help the other agencies here when they have a violent crime. You know, I'm just an extra set of hands, and I do whatever they need me to do. So that's
right.
what this position is.
Wow. And the fact that you just mentioned, you're still able to work with the criminal justice program, and you'll see them today. You still are out there involved, even in this new position, which is fantastic. It was great that you're still a resource because you're so knowledgeable on many things.
And that's, law enforcement, again, going back to the community. You know, part of my job is also,
making those relationships also.
Yes. So, I still get to help. I'm not there every day, but, maybe once a month or something, I get to help them. And there's attorneys in our office that go down and help the kids, too, with some of the more intense legal things. Yep.
And you've got some kids that are around the high school age as well, right? Or getting ready to come into, right?
Well, I got one that just graduated last year, and she's a freshman at UT Knoxville now. And I got...
Not working with the body farm, I assume?
No. She wants to go to medical school.
Wow, that's good.
I think she's majoring in chemistry, if I'm not mistaken. Then I've got one that's a sophomore there at the high school, and I got two more that'll be freshmen next year.
Awesome. Yeah, so a lot of these kids that in the high school level just because of they're your kids' friends, right?
This year it will probably be the last year that I really have. Well, I guess next year, kids that I had ties to
your program.
Yeah, this senior class, and then there's a few in the juniors right now that I know, but after that, I won't have any ties to any of them.
But they'll know you. They'll know your story. They'll know who you are, and you're obviously still around, and that's fantastic.
I'm curious, you've had a long career in it. What's the biggest changes you've seen over those years?
Technology.
How's that changed? What's it done for y'all?
Technology has changed for the good and for the bad in law enforcement. Cell phones, computers, it helps us solve crimes, but also it creates more crimes for us to solve. You see a lot of problems with juveniles and cell phone technology and social media apps. It's very dangerous out there. And people can be very naive sometimes. It's very dangerous.
Sure, yeah. But then also on the positive side of that, you're able to communicate faster. You're able to get information out faster. I know with Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, you're able to put out wanted posters and things like that. I guess we still call them posters to help get that out. And Amber Alerts. We've all been on the receiving end of an Amber Alert on a phone, and you're made aware of there's a missing child in this description of a vehicle. So, technology at some point, also helps as well. But
and that's what I said. It helps, but also it hurts.
It can hurt, yeah.
I think every police agency around here has a Facebook and Twitter account and probably Instagram. It's just that's how you communicate stuff with people now. But like I said, it's very helpful.
Yep.
Now you've answered this some, but I'm going to ask it specific. I guess the day in the life of an investigator. It varies, right? I guess depends on the cases that are open and what's going on. You talked about a lot of phone calls and stuff. Anything else you'd add to that? What a day in the work life of an investigator at the DA's office? What's that look like?
My job's a little different sometimes. The attorneys, when they're getting ready for a case, they may ask me to go interview, track down witnesses.
Right.
Sometimes I may have to help them in the courtroom, set up different things. So I do a little bit of both. I say a detective at Tullahoma Police Department is a lot faster paced than what my job is now. But then again, there are sometimes I'm gone for 2 or 3 days, and just being able to come home and sleep for a few hours and go back to work just depends on what's going on.
What do you know now that you wish you'd have known back then as a kid that didn't know if you wanted to go to college or not?
$1 million question. We've asked.
I ask
all
everybody
our guests.
this, and I'm always curious with the answer on it.
What do we tell younger
Ignorance
Jason?
is bliss. See, the other thing about it is I'm glad I didn't know some of the stuff I know now. But
Yeah,
That's true too.
find something you love and you care about, and it'll make things a lot easier for you. Be passionate about what you do. If you do it, give it 100%. Don't halfway do it, and you'll be successful in whatever you decide to do. No matter if it's in law enforcement, if it's building car parts, electrician.
Because some people just really enjoy working with their hands, and a desk job may not be for them. Like, what do you enjoy doing, and then how do you pursue making a life out of it, a career out of it? It's very important.
Find out the job you think you want to do, something you're passionate about. Find out what you need to successfully do that.
Yep.
If you can start doing it at a young age, while you're in high school, part-time, do it. And once you figure that out, just give it 110%.
Yep.
Law enforcement, you can still get into it without college, but I highly suggest it. It doesn't make you a better cop, but it's something a lot of agencies are pushing towards, especially now with what the state offers. You can go to Motlow for 2 years for free. Do it.
Jump on it, yeah.
At least do it part-time,
Right.
But that's one thing.
I've got to imagine in that career, the more knowledge and the more that you can absorb is just more in the toolbox, right?
Yeah.
Well, it seemed, and you alluded to it before, we talked about it, being able to work and go to school was helpful for you. But it's obvious, too, where you started at 18 working, you didn't have this all planned out. You didn't have FBI school and the body farm and all that on your plan, right? It revealed itself as you lived your life, right?
Yeah.
And as you dove into that career.
Yeah, and like I said, I gave it 110%. I always wanted to know more. So that's what helped me become successful. Teaching, like I said, that was a little fork in my road, but like I said, I learned a lot by doing that too.
Sure.
Well, you're still teaching. You just were you just talked about going and doing a class at the police department.
Still using those teaching skills to run training courses, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Jason, was there anything that we didn't get to that you wanted to get to today? Because you've answered a lot of my questions that we've had.
No, I think this is a great thing you guys have going. And like I said, I'm available if any of these kids want to talk to me, if it's a phone call, email, or I can stop by. And
Really appreciate that.
I do have a couple that want to talk to you. So I think it's important. That's really what this is all about, is helping them take that next step of where they want to go and be what they want to be,
just let me know and I'll make myself available.
All right. I appreciate
Awesome.
it. We appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming.
Absolutely. Everyone, that was Jason Kennedy. Thank you so much. You've listened to Two Mics and a Guest.